Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to get started on Ed's honing on his cylinder, and then we'll proceed on to the chamfering and the ring gap check and checking the flatness of the cylinder. So right now I'm set up over by the hone, the sun and hone, and I'm going to just kind of show you my tools that I'm going to use for this part of the operation. It's nothing fancy. It's just the normal run-of-the-mill stuff that you have to have when you're measuring. And again, I'll show you a little bit of the sun and honing machine. And first I'm going to take, I've already taken and cleaned. I keep these bagged up, but these are my honing stones. And this is the type that you have to use in order to clear your ports. And there's one on both sides there. And these adjust out by using this little wheel here, and the tension is put on by here. Right here is my truing sleeve for that one, and that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get the oil running, and I'm going to start truing the stones up before I even put them into the cylinder. I've got my micrometer and my snap gauge along with the piston, and I've got my dial bore gauge set up for the size of the piston. So it's set up for 2.576, I believe, and that way we know how much at a glance that our clearance is. Right now, remember when we bored this out, it was approximately 1/1000th bigger than the piston. That's what we figured. If I go in here, and see there, I'm 1/1000th smaller than the piston for our bore. It's on the minus side. The plus side, it would be bigger. We're actually heading for 3/1000ths, and that'll be our clearance for a forged piston. But right now, we're at just almost 1/1000ths big. So we've got to take 4/1000ths out of this in order to get to our target. And so that's where we're going. So let me get things going over here. And get you so you can see it. I think this door may be a problem. I'm not sure with you being able to see everything. First I got to get my gloves on. I don't want to get that stuff all over me. I've also got an apron on. I don't know if you noticed that or not. This stuff goes everywhere, so if you don't want to ruin your clothes the first 2 seconds that you're doing this, you want to put an apron on. And it'll be all over the floor too, probably. I usually end up having to put floor dry down there. Let's see if we're adjusted here where we're going to make it. We're just truing these stones up to make sure that everything is nice and flat before we start working on the cylinder itself. Okay, just set that off to the side. See how close we are on our adjustment here. Gonna have to go in some. Okay, looks like we're gonna be okay. I usually try to get this so that I can keep oil running in one of the ports. And like I say on all these with the hone, you want to make sure that you're going both ways. It's real tight here. I'm at the bottom of my adjustment on this one. But you want to keep oil going in there, and you want to move in and out freely, and you don't want to be pushing up or down on your machine. All you're doing is moving the cylinder in and out. Oh, that looks nice. See where we're at here. Okay, we've taken about a 1/2 thousandths out. Just keep track of it on both ends. Should be about the same. And we are. About 4/10 thousandths is where we are right now. So this will be going on for a little while. Okay, I moved you out so I think you'll be able to see a little better. See, we're right at 0 now. So we're going to start our clearance. The hardest part of this is getting the cylinder back on and off. Just like I say, don't pull up, don't push down, don't push sideways. All you're doing is just moving it in and out. And you come out this end, and then you come out this end. That way you're keeping your stones level. If you don't do it like that, you'll end up with ridges. And you'll also end up with a taper in your cylinder. You may have, it may be bigger on one end than the other. You want to try to keep that as close to the same as you can. I usually twist this off and on. It just seems like it works better that way. You want to keep a pretty constant check on your size. Actually, it'll go a little quicker than you think. Okay, we're at about 4/10,000ths. And the same. So I'll be working on this for a little while yet. About another 10 minutes. All right, better get down to the nitty-gritty here. Remember 7/6 is our piston. That one's good, it's 7/9. And 7/9. So I think I'll take this and go wash it. And then we'll take it up the bench and measure it again just for good principles. Okay. We're at 2.576, and that's the widest part of our piston. Just reach down in here. Anywhere should do on a fresh bore rather. And we're right at 2.579. Maybe 1/10,000th. So we're good. It's our 3. Just turn it over here and check the bottom for gee whizzes. And there you go. 2.579. So we've got our 3/1000ths, and that's what's required by the manufacturer right here. Nice feel to it. Okay, we'll get into the chamfering and the ring fitting. One thing I want to look at here before we get into that, I just picked up a Venco piston, a whole kit actually. This is a pretty good deal, especially if you, like with the case of the RM250, a lot of the gaskets are no longer available from Suzuki. So with this kit, I got the piston. It's a pretty nice looking piston. This is Venco. I think these are a Wassner, which are German made, and these are forged also. You get your rings, your clips, your pin, just like with the Wiseco. But you also get the bearing and a full gasket set, top end gasket set. So that's a pretty good deal. I mean, you pay a little bit more, but you're getting more. Like I say, if you're having trouble getting the gaskets, then you've got everything. We've got the base, we've got the reed, we've got the intake and the exhaust, plus the head. All brand new stuff. So I'm liking that. And one thing I just thought while I had this, I would measure these things out a little bit as far as the weight goes. I've got this set at grams. Now this is a 250 versus a 185 piston. Okay, the 185 Suzuki, 238 grams. I think you can see that. Let me bring you up a little closer. Okay, there we go. Quit shaking. 238 grams. 185 Suzuki. 250 Suzuki. 229 grams. Bigger piston, both of them forged, lighter weight. I like this. This is, that's what I don't like about forged pistons generally, is because they're heavier. You lose a little bit of RPM off your top end because you're throwing around that heavier piston. I like this. I've read some stuff online about the, well, the 239, so you're 10 grams less weight on the bigger piston. I wished I had one of both of the, you know, either the 250 or a one. You know, I think I do. Let me. I think I've got a 250 Savage piston. Let me go rummage around a little bit. Okay, this is probably not a good comparison actually either, because the Savage piston is bigger. It's a bigger bore than the RM. I think that actually the 185 and 250 RM is probably a better comparison, but let's take a look at it anyway. Okay, the Savage was, okay, it's 70.5 millimeter on the bore, and here it is coming in at 251 grams. And of course the RM is 67, 68 in this case. And it's coming in at 229. So in that comparison, there's 22 grams difference. This was a lighter piston. Actually, like I say, the 185 is probably a better comparison. And at 239 and 228, 229. So about 10 there. Either way you cut it, it looks like the Wassner is going to be a little bit lighter weight. So you may have that a little better top end as far as your RPM range goes. You know, it's that's the one thing you kind of give up when you go cast, because go forged over the cast, and that's, you know, I prefer the cast, but you know, I'm a realist too, and when we get to where you know, the manufacturer's not making a piston, then you have to go to the aftermarket. But I like what I'm seeing with the Venco. I was going to say earlier, I had gone on to some of the forums and just kind of poked around a little bit. Some people were saying that these were not as good a piston. You know, they ended up with brakes or whatever. But others say there's no difference, and just like anything, you know, it's up to your interpretation of what's going on or what happened to you. Okay, one thing I gotta say though, Venco don't give you the cool little bag. You know, what a bummer. But they give you a box. So, okay, on the, I just thought that was kind of a gee whiz thing on the pistons. And the Savage piston, if I remember right, it is a 70 millimeter bore as we measured. And if you're looking at the RM series, the 1976, the first one, was a 70 millimeter bore. So I believe those pistons work in either bike, at least the aftermarket ones. Suzuki may have had a one-ring piston for the RM when it came out. I don't remember. But anyhow, I just thought when I got that kit, I was just, I thought, well, I'll put it on the scale and just see, and I couldn't believe the difference. That's quite a bit of weight difference. So I'm all about saving that and keeping your RPMs. So let's see now. Let's look at our ring gap, and Wiseco's telling us the minimum recommended end gap is usually 4 thousandths per inch of bore. So a 3-inch bore would be 12 thousandths. And you know, additional end gap may be necessary for modified engines, so on and so forth. So let's just take a look at what we've got here. Let's stick these in and kind of true it up. And I've already been through this, so I'm getting about 15 on this. So I think we're good. That's a good snug 15. Like I say, this is about a little over 2.5 inch bore. So if you're looking at the minimum, it would be about 10, and we're exceeding that. So we shouldn't have a problem with it getting too, you know, heating up and sticking because of the ring gap's too small. So we're good on our ring gap. I think that I always kind of like to run them a little on the loose side if possible. That just takes a lot of the, you know, if you, especially on a fresh bore, you know, if you get it a little hot, you're not going to run into a problem if you're a little over. You don't want a lot over, otherwise you're going to not seal. But 15, I think we're in good shape on this one. Okay, if you remember from the pictures on the boring, it looked like the head gasket was leaking. You know, it could have been loose, it could have been the gasket, it could be the head surface, or it could be this. So I'm going to check this. I always like to check them before I send them back. Kind of wished I had the head to check it, but I think those are kind of hard to check, actually. I'll take, got some 400 grit wet and dry paper. And I've got the dicom here on this, so we'll just check the flatness on the surface plate here and just see where we're at. Well, looks like we're good there. Not seeing any issues, except I've got kind of a little scratch right here. Yeah, I can hook my finger on it a little bit. There's another one over here. It looked like the problem was toward the front. You know, this actually, even though the dicom has been taken off, it looks like there's some little low spots there. So I'm going to go ahead and continue a little bit of more work on this and see if I can get it a little better. Okay, I actually stepped up to some 220 grit and I've completely removed those two scratches. So I'm going to go back to the 400 and just finish this up. All right, now we'll get in here and take care of our chamfer on our ports. Very important that you do this. And you really don't need to do the sides of them. You just need the top and the bottom. That's where things are going to get hung up. Let me see if I can get you down here a little bit better. Just kind of hard to get you in here to all this. I just use a diamond burr. It's that way you don't end up skipping all over the cylinder when you're doing this. And like I always say on these things, if it feels sharp, it is. It needs to be taken care of. If it's soft to your hands, then it's probably all right. And don't forget to take care of this little area here. Really, this is more for your sake, so you don't tear up your hands putting the rings and the piston in. And then we've got the top. Do the same thing up there. I'm gonna have to go back and hit that with the sandpaper again. And I just touched my little boo-boo up there on the top. It's another good thing to be using the diamond because you're not cutting deep. Oh yeah, looks good. All right, saved my butt. Okay, once you get done with that, my thing is to use automatic transmission fluid because of its high detergent. You know, after the hone, after the chamfering, see the darkness? You want to continue to do that with your paper towels until it no longer comes out of there black. It should only be red and white. Grab another one. Doesn't matter what kind of ATF, just ATF in general is always high detergent. See, a little less darkness. Sure tear them up quick. And I'll just keep after that, but I've actually got a little bit more machining to do before I'm done. I've got a couple heli-coils that need to go in the exhaust here. This one would probably make it, but this one is looks pretty worn. It's pretty flat, the threads are. So we're just going to take care of both of them and make sure he doesn't have any problems. The intakes all look good. They're of course a bigger bolt. Okay, I've got the cylinder here in my vise with my copper jaws. Do not do this without soft jaws. You will mess up everything you've already done. And make sure it's tight enough where it's not going to come out of there. And we're just going to follow I'm going to get a little lubricant here first. We're going to follow that original hole down there. Okay, I think that's good. Yep, looks good. So we'll go ahead and get our heli-coil tap, a little lubricant on it. And you're tapping, be sure to back that up every once in a while to clear the threads. I like to pull it plumb out and clean them too from time to time. We'll introduce a little more lubricant. I'm going to be able to use the longest heli-coil that I've got on these. They're pretty long. That's good. I like to get as big a bolt in there or as long a bolt as I can. Good. Let me get my heli-coil. As you can see here on the bottom, you've got your driving tang, and that's going to go into your tool right here. There's different installation tools. This is a pretty old one, but it works good for me. You just get that tang located where it should be, and I use my little holder here to keep pressure on it and try to get it to start. And just hold that pressure while you're screwing it into it. And then go about a 1/2 to 3/4 turn below the surface. So there you go. Let me get the other one done. Okay, and then just the final step is to get in there with your tang removal tool. And just give it a little whack. Now this one, this is a closed hole and this is an open hole, so it just dropped out of the other one. Usually some air pressure will take care of it. It's still in there. Let me get my other nozzle. There we go. Okay. So, just give them a little test here. Okay, good new threads. Should last him a long time. So we're just about done with this, I think. Okay, there's our heli-coils installed. Our bore. It's kind of hard to tell what's better in the picture. Let you decide. Got a lot of paper from the paper towel in there. Okay, so I think we're all done here. I'm sure Ed will be glad to have it back. I do want to tell you that you need this little hole right here. That's for your injection. Comes into this that little pipe right there, little brass pipe. I like to just stick my finger in there and then blow with the air, shop air. Make sure you can feel it coming out. If that's plugged, you're not going to get any oil to your upper end there. So be sure you check that. And like I say, all the other threads were good. This surface turned out real nice up here, even with me slipping and having to go do it again. Sometimes it happens, guys. It's just the way it is. So let me just kind of go over the heli-coil kit. This is what I use, and this is the 6 millimeter. And this particular kit comes with I don't know. I think it comes with like 10 of each of these, but I use a lot of them, so I refill them pretty constantly. The drill bit is going to be a specific size for the size of hole they want you to drill for this. In this particular case, it turns out to be a 1/4 inch. So it's okay there, but this tap is going to be not a 1/4 inch tap. This is a heli-coil tap, and it cuts them big enough to put the heli-coil in. And of course, this is your tang removal tool, and this is the tool they give you. And I just don't like this. This is plastic, and I've had the threads get screwed up here, so I don't use it. I use the one I've used for 100 years. I don't know these. I think my dad had this heli-coil set before me, and I still use the installation tool. Simple and no frills. This one you just put there, and this is made to use on several different sizes of them. You just hold it down while you screw it in. The idea behind this one is that you load it like you do almost like a rifle, and you just put your insert in there with the tang toward the back, like that, and then load it, and then thread it into the threads here on the end, and then you hold it against the item while you turn it in. And I think it's a very light pressure. You just hold it. And that's all you're doing with this tool too. But I have just had so many of them that screwed up on me using this tool, so I use my old one. And that's just me. But anyhow, before you go in there, what I did was I just stuck this tool in there and pulled it out, and that's how long the threads are basically. So I knew I was going to be able to use the longest insert. And you got to remember, when you put these in, they stretch out. So they will stretch some. But that's what I do to check to see which one I think I ought to use. And I always try to use the longest one that will fit in there. So that's about the heli-coils. Those little kits they're not too expensive. I mean, if you're just doing one, it's kind of is, because I want to say they're about $65 or something like that. And but you know, my gosh, you do quite a few of them, or I do anyway. And it's always these little things like this on the barrels that you end up putting them in. But it's stronger than the parent material. That will take more pressure and more abuse than the aluminum threads that were in there before. Okay, so I'm going to pack everything back up, and Ed, if you're watching, this exhaust gasket was still in here, so I pulled it out so I could clean it. You may want to get a new one because it looks like it has seen better days. You know, how many years, how many miles? Pick you up a new one, and that way you'll have a good seal up there on your exhaust. And just to go over what's in the box again, this one here is 1.5 millimeter, I guess. Yeah, 1.5 millimeter. And we went to 3/1000 on our clearance. And we've got the sexy little bag here to put it in. You don't get that with the Venco. And we've got the clips. I'm going to stick your used gasket right there in the piston too. And the pin actually goes here on the side. And we're going to stick the piston back in there. And we've got our rings. I'll put a little piece of tape on that. Keep them in there. And just put those right on top. And the instructions, got to have those. So there we have it. We've got the we got Ed's cylinder all ready to go for another 80,000 miles. No, I doubt it. I think well, he had 3 bores. I don't know that he did all of them, or whether he did the first one and missed the second one and did the next one. But good Lord, the way he's going, we ought to be good for another 20, don't you think? Be sure to clean it up good with your ATF. Okay guys, there you have it. We got Ed back on the road. I'm going to get this packed up, try to get it over to UPS tonight or maybe in the morning. And it probably won't go out till Monday, but hopefully you'll have it on Friday that week. Just remember that when you go through all the trouble to do this, be sure to break this thing in good. No real steady accelerator. You want to, just don't go down the road at a solid 50 mile an hour and never change anything. You want to start out easy at first, and the thing is you want to give it gas, back off, give it gas, back off, give it gas. And every time you give it gas, it introduces more fuel, which is cool. It cools the cylinder and the piston, and you also are getting that extra lubricant in there. So be sure to use lots of oil when you put it together, and whatever 2-stroke oil you're using, and make sure you get it into the ring lands good, and lubricate the upper bearing really well. And you might want to squirt some down into the lower bearing too, just to make sure. I think he's had that apart. So just make sure everything is lubed up good, and wait a while before you do a steady going down the road at 55 miles an hour. You want to wait until you've, I don't know, probably 100 miles, something like that, to get it really seated, get it broke in, and constantly vary your fuel and give it that little blip once in a while to shoot that cool charge of fuel in there, and that'll keep everything cool and lubricated. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and see you next video.